Hope this thing is on. Hello. I usually have intro music at the beginning, but I haven't paid the rights fees, so I can't use music until I pay for those rights fees. Let me see if I can just sign into this chat here. Oh, it makes it separate. All right, cool. Well, hello, everybody. I know it's been a 10-month hiatus, but welcome back to Smells Like Wrasslin, episode 92. A lot of stuff has transpired since we last met. A total turnaround of WWE, a total turnaround for AEW. Multiple major events have been going on. Jesus, I think I missed Royal Rumble, WrestleMania, SummerSlam, everything major from this year we haven't talked about. Let me see if I could just share this with my I have no subscribers, so I literally just is this thing even on the right one? Oh, that's why this is an older one. Let me just double check something here. Okay, I am on. Great. Let's share this with the people. Okay. Okay. Share it with as many people as I can, which is not a lot. But so let's kind of do a little bit of some catching up before we talk about yesterday's pay-per-view. We had All In yesterday at Wembley. That was something else. I thought it was a great show. But let's talk about the state of things right now. Let's talk about the state of things that's going on in pro wrestling, because a lot of it has changed from the last time that you got that we talked. So, if I remember correctly, 10 months ago, I'm pretty sure Vince was kind of still in charge, but not really. All that has changed now. He's gone. He's gone. And it has been the Triple H show ever since. And not going to lie, it has been a vast improvement over what they've been doing for the last, 10 or so years. They managed to strike gold with a super hot white meat babyface in Cody Rhodes. They did I think the Bloodline storyline has been the thing that has been propping up WWE for the last, 2 years, right? The Bloodline's been around for at least 2 years. I know Roman's been champ for years and years, but the Bloodline was like that. I really feel like the Bloodline storyline really took off with the introduction of Sami Zayn. And that really was like the catalyst for everything that they were doing with that storyline. From him trying to get into the Bloodline, him trying to win over Jay, him being friends with Jimmy, him getting close with Roman. They give him the honorary Uso shirt. He changed his name to Sammy Uso. He's full on in. He betrayed Kevin Owens. He did all this shit. Kevin Owens has the match with Roman. Sammy goes face. Sammy has that awesome match in Canada with Roman, where people really thought that he was going to win the title. I will say this though. There's a select few people where if they won the title, if they challenged Roman for the title during that time, that I thought that they had a legitimate chance of winning it. One was Drew at Clash at the Castle, and the other one was Sami Zayn. And I thought it was magnificent. I thought it actually kind of allowed Roman to kind of flex being a little bit of a tweener, to kind of see whether or not people would cheer him in terms of a babyface role. Because let's be real, from 2015 to 2020, they were trying to push this guy, and it was not fucking working. It was not working. And ironically enough, it only started working when they turned him heel, which is what everyone wanted him to do. You want to know why? Is because Vince at the time, when he was running things, the only people that he could write believably were heels. he still had a very antiquated view of what a babyface would be. He always thought that a babyface should just get the shit kicked out of him for like weeks and months, and then he ends up, and then he goes into a match where he sells repeatedly, and then he wins anyways. So it was kind of a little bit of a boring deal when it came to Roman and his babyface run, but they ended up making him a super heel. Cody ends up winning, has that match with Roman, loses, which everyone was a little bit surprised for. Honestly, I thought that was the pay-per-view to do it. Was not this past WrestleMania, but the WrestleMania before. They had this whole storyline where the bloodline was going to crumble. And they had the Usos lose to Sammy and Kevin. And I thought that would have been the time for Roman to lose. All the belts leave the bloodline. They start fresh. That was it. But no. Apparently, they had other plans. So they ended up doing Cody again. They had him win the Royal Rumble 2 years in a row. And then after that, he gives up the title reign. He gives up the title shot to The Rock so that The Rock and Roman could have this, like, within the family storyline. It was horrible. Absolutely horrible. And the craziest thing was that the crowd revolted. The crowd revolted big time. And what ended up happening is they had to do an about face. They had to do an about face, and it did not work out very well. I mean, it did. Well, actually, it kind of did. It kind of did. I gotta get rid of like this old video. I guess I can't do it now. They got rid of this stupid ass storyline. And they ended up like inputting Rollins in there, and then they did a tag match at Night 1 of Mania to set the stipulation. And if Cody lost, it was going to be a Bloodline Rules match, which, to be honest, it was always going to be a Bloodline Rules match. I mean, they had to protect Roman, so there was no way that he was going to really lose clean. And then there was just like a murderer's row of people who have been feuding with both of these guys for a while. They had Solo come out. They had actually, I think at this point, Jay was gone. It was just Jimmy. So, like, Jimmy and Solo came out. The Rock came out. Like, everybody came out. For Cody, Cena came out. Rollins came out. The fucking Undertaker came out. It really should have been Stone Cold, but I think it was like I think it came down to money as to whether or not Stone Cold was going to be on the show, which is a shame because no matter what the money was, he should have done it for the fans. I mean, how much money does Stone Cold need? He's Stone Cold Steve Austin. I just don't see him really holding someone over a barrel. Like, he could have came out, he could have gave The Rock a stunner, everyone would have shit themselves, and that would have been it. He would have made a crisp, probably couple million for 30 seconds of work, not even. So Cody's the champ, and of course, what I thought was going to happen was that the allure of Cody was going to wear off the second he got the belt. Because a lot of times what happens is the build is everything, and then once you give the fans what they want, they already want something else. So, like, they need to put Cody into a lot more the success of the storyline with Cody and the Bloodline was it had a lot of emotion and history involved into it. None of the guys that Cody has faced in the last, Mania was April, we're in August now, so like 4 months, like 3.5, 4 months. He faced AJ Styles at Backlash in France, which the match was... The crowd really made that match. I mean, they were really into everything. Like, Europe is so starved for pro wrestling that, like, those crowds are rabid no matter how you shake it. No matter where you go, Berlin, the crowd was loud. France, the crowd was loud. London, the crowd was loud. Like, it's always going to be that way in Europe because WWE doesn't tour there every day, every week of the year. They have their European tour that's once a year, and that's it. It's the American crowds that we're just so oversaturated with wrestling that we literally just pick and choose what shit we want to go to because there's a lot of options now. You know, I mean, the WWE has what, 3-4 shows a week? They got Raw, they got SmackDown, and they have NXT. That's 3 shows a week. AEW, 3 shows a week. They have Dynamite, Rampage, and Collision. We'll talk about Collision and Rampage in a little bit when we talk about the turnaround for AEW. Because it really did turn the tides. It really did. Like, the main selling point for Tony Khan was, I'm not Vince. Now, if we all look back between, what was it, 2015 and 2020, I think? Because what, AEW came into existence around 2019, 2020? That signaled the end for NXT. Like, AEW officially killed NXT Black and Gold. I don't care how you slice it. And honestly, Vince served NXT up to AEW on a silver platter. He put them on live television. The strengths of NXT was they could book a whole month's worth of storylines in one day, like how you film a soap opera. You film a whole bunch of episodes in a day, and that's it. That's why there's never any repeats for soap operas in wrestling, because it's either live or they're taping a bulk of them in advance. So you got Vince gone, the guy who made arguably one of like the best brands of the last 25 years, which is NXT Black and Gold, and now that guy was running the main roster. Remember how, I don't know how many of you guys out there were fans of NXT Black and Gold from its inception all the way to its death, but how many times did we have a guy, especially in the latter half of NXT, when Vince started realizing that NXT had some popularity and he started poaching their guys? But remember how we would always used to think after a guy got into NXT, when he went up to the main roster, it was almost like a farewell, like a funeral dirge, because everyone knew that the second they got to the main roster, they were going to get misused and underutilized and forgotten and put on Vince's shelf of lost misfit toys. And that's what happened to a lot of guys. Like Ricochet got some decent exposure because he was super athletic. Vince didn't see the upside in guys like Karrion Kross and Aleister Black and Andrade. Like, none of those guys were doing anything. So whenever a guy got really hot in NXT and then you lost them to the main roster, it was like, oh, well, that was it. Like, to me, their career was dead, because any of the shit that they were going to do in fucking, I remember they had like guys like FTR and Ricochet chasing after like the 24/7 belt. It was fucking awful. It was fucking awful. But now the guy who was actually utilizing all of this sought after free agents and indie talent, once that guy was in charge, like, there was no longer that fear that you were going to get misused or underutilized. Now, to an extent, that's true. I mean, we're almost on a year of the Triple H reign. Like, the first full, no Vince, no bullshit, you had Hunter doing all these storylines. Like, that was it. You know what I mean? Hold on a second. Let's do this. Okay, cool. I'm surprised no one's able to hear my air conditioning, because it's hot as fucking balls in New York right now. And it's hot in this goddamn apartment. But now that the AC is on, it feels fucking incredible. So, so now, like, I mean, I have to say, I feel like Hunter really inherited the momentum going from the Bloodline storyline, and it really culminated into an amazing moment at Mania. Cody's first defense against AJ was good. I think his next defense was against Logan Paul. And then the other one he did was... Who was the last guy he fought? Oh, Solo. So now he's kind of like just giving a title shot to Kevin Owens. Now listen, I feel like the way that I look at the two companies, because there's two big dogs in town now. There's AEW and there's WWE. And I've said this before to some people that I know. AEW's main strength is honestly they have the best wrestlers, professional wrestlers in the world, in my opinion. They have the most talented in-ring, bell-to-bell talent on the planet. WWE has the best production and marketing team and merchandising team on the planet. As a company, they are better at being a professional wrestling company than AEW is, in terms of how they present storylines, in terms of how they market their guys, in terms of exposure, in terms of merchandise, all that stuff. I am of the opinion that pro wrestling is great when both of these companies can do what the other is doing well. Meaning, when AEW is when they're being run well, when they're being marketed well, when the storylines are good, when they don't have all this negative press and stuff, the action bell to bell is bar none. It almost surpasses what was going on in NXT Black and Gold. Because to be honest, they have a little bit more leeway in terms of what they did in the ring in AEW than they did in NXT. Because NXT, at the end of the day, was supposed to prepare you for the main roster. You know what I mean? So it's like, it was a little bit different, a little bit the same. It's like, college ball is a little bit different than the NFL. So sometimes guys who are in college ball, they don't make it very far in the NFL, like a Tim Tebow. But then you got guys who, were great and, who were like drafted like late and now they're Hall of Famers. So it's a little bit different. But when Drew McIntyre, and another big thing, Punk left AEW and went to WWE. So anyone who follows wrestling and you're listening to all the stuff right now, this is just me catching up from the last episode to this episode. This is all stuff you guys know already. Punk came back. The horrible publicity and the tit for tat back and forth between AEW and WWE and CM Punk was bullshit. Now, I'll be honest with you guys, I don't like Punk at all, and I didn't like him before he even got to AEW. All right, I jumped off the Punk train when he went into UFC. Then at that point, I was like, fuck this guy. I was like, this guy's just looking for a quick buck, and that's pretty much it. He's a fucking hypocrite and a massive chip on his shoulder. And in my opinion, if you go back and you look at the careers of the Young Bucks and you look at the careers of CM Punk, I mean, how many people can you say were saying negative things about the Bucks until now? But how many people has Punk rubbed the wrong way in the last several years? Tony put out that video showing the footage from All In from last year, where they had the fight backstage between Punk and Jack Perry. Now, it was funny because a lot of people saw that video and were just like, well, Punk didn't lie. He said exactly what he did, and the video proved it. I was of the opinion that when you come onto the scene and say you want to work with all that young talent and you want to be a this and you want to be a that, you got to go in with the expectation that not everyone's going to want to listen to you. Oh my God, Jordan's here. Jordan is the one guy who I would share this fucking camera and podcast with. But that motherfucker never shows up anywhere. So every single time I invite him over for a pay-per-view, he's sitting row 2 with Bruce. I get no invite, nothing. Fuck you, Jordan. All right? Unbelievable. But, well, hold on. Psycho Sid died? No! For real? Oh, that's a shame. That is a shame. But, what do you call it? Like, I was of the opinion that, not everyone's going to want to listen to you. And your job as a locker room leader is to just be the adult in the room. And if Tony wasn't being the adult and Jack Perry wasn't being the adult, someone had to be. But everyone chose not to be an adult. Tony decided not to have a pair of balls and stand up and take control of his company. Jack wasn't an adult because he went up to an established veteran and started picking fights. Punk wasn't an adult because He put hands on someone that didn't put hands on him. Punk got upset and literally put hands on a fellow employee. If I did that at my job, my ass would be fired. Even if I was like, he wasn't listening, he was being antagonistic, I put hands on him. But wrestling's a different is a different crowd. You could put hands on somebody backstage, and that's what the boys do. That's what the boys do. So I am glad that Tony kind of just stopped with this bullshit. Stopped talking about Punk. Social media really could make or break a career for a lot of these wrestlers. I think the majority, I think 99.9% of pro wrestlers should stay the fuck off of Twitter. They should have someone running their social media, post pictures, post views on post clips of their matches, but they should not be reading comments. They should not be interacting with fans. To be honest, they should shut comments off of all their videos. That's what I think. Because every single time one of these guys opens their mouth to the fans on Twitter, it becomes a fucking thing. Just shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up. That goes for every professional wrestler. Stay off of social media. Stop going tit for tat with fans. You're fighting like 13-year-olds masquerading as 40-year-olds and 40-year-olds masquerading as 13-year-olds. Get the fuck off of there. All right? Enough. Enough. It's stupid. It's absolutely asinine. So so I'll go back to what I was saying about like the balances between the two companies. I thought that the storyline that Drew and Punk had been building over the last several months was fucking excellent. Fucking excellent. Punk always shines on the mic more when there's someone else that's able to hold their own. And Drew, I don't know what's been going on, but he's had this what was I saying? Drew's having this like renaissance right now where he's totally revamping his character. His promos have been excellent. His character work has been excellent. Everything. I saw that, Jordan. So Jordan's saying in the chat that Ricochet's crashing out on Twitter because some lady said he doesn't watch AEW, so she'll watch his highlights. Like, this is what I'm saying, dude. Shut the fuck up. What the fuck does this lady know? She's only going to watch highlights. She doesn't watch AEW. Fine. Let her do that. Do your thing. Wrestle your style. Do your business your way. And shut the fuck up. Why does this lady even matter at all? At all. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. He should shut the fuck up. But he doesn't. I thought the only weak point of the Drew and Punk storyline was the match was just kind of okay. But then again, like Punk, I have to remember this a lot, and I think other people need to remember this too. Punk isn't young. He's old. Like, he's not old like Ric Flair's old, but he's old. You know what I mean? He was never a flippy guy. He was never the most, I would say, like, technical wrestler, but he had the best character work out of anybody in any company that he was in. He spoke with conviction whenever he was on the mic. You believed everything that he was saying whenever he stepped up to the mic. And that goes from the pipe bomb to beyond. I just felt like the match just kind of lacked like the in-ring payoff. Now they are going to do this again. They are going to fight again. Drew ended up winning their first match. They're going to have a strap match next, which I think will, you don't need to wrestle a technical match to be good in that match. You just have to have a really high pain tolerance and tell a good story in the ring. I assume that Drew is going to lose this match, and then they'll have a rubber match, like maybe at Survivor Series, because that's the next big pay-per-view that's coming up. But I could see Drew losing the match. I could see Punk finally getting his bracelet and just ending that storyline. The bracelet was, in a way, like when he talked about it in the promos leading up to the match, it was fine because he had emotional attachment to it. I just didn't think it was going to become a MacGuffin in the match. Oh yeah, it could be a Hell in a Cell. That would be good. You know what I haven't seen in a while? I haven't seen a 3 stages of Hell match. Like, I feel like that is like reserved for like the most like intense blood feuds. And I haven't seen that in a long, long time. What was the 3 stages of Hell match? It was a regular match. it was what, like a no DQ match, and then it was a cage match at the end or something like that. I can't remember what, but they should do a 3 stages of hell match. That would be great. And if the third stage was a cell, then that would work out also. A Hell in a Cell is still good, honestly. I just don't know if they will be able to do anything memorable in the cell. But I feel like they'd be able to do more memorable things with like weapons and shit like that. Like have them do a straightforward match, no gimmicks. Second match, do gimmicks. And then third match, go bloody. That's what I think. Like 3 stages of hell match would be kind of cool. But Hell in a Cell would be fucking dope because I can't remember the last Hell in a Cell match aside from that I would really remember except from Rollins and Cody, when Cody had that torn pec and he was all bruised up on his side. It was freaking awful, but it was awesome. That's what I think. Yeah, I just think but you know, also I have to learn I gotta learn to expect the strengths of each company to be their strengths and the weaknesses to be their weaknesses. Now, I would say now you see, in my opinion, some of the best mat work. Oh yeah, I remember that. Was that the one where they trapped one of the Usos in the corner of the cage with the kendo sticks and they were just beating the shit out of him, and then they handcuffed Woods to the turnbuckle and they beat the shit out of him also with the kendo stick? That match ruled. That match was great. Usos and New Day had some of the, like, that's one of my favorite tag team feuds in WWE, was Usos and New Day. That was fucking awesome. It was just great because they were 2 top dog tag teams. No one else was on their level. No one else was winning titles like they were. It was great. That was a phenomenal match. But how long ago was that? Was that like, that had to have been like 5 years ago, I think. I can't remember. I think like that and the Cody one. I just can't remember any others. They might have done some with the women. But God, I can't remember. But so like I can't always, I feel like it's unfair for me to always expect like New Japan PWG style matches in WWE. Now I will say that outside of the main event scene, the mid card in WWE, the wrestling has been great. Mello and Andrade, Street Profits and DIY, they've been putting on great. I'm telling you, the mid card in WWE, that time on Raw between hour 1 and hour 3, awesome. They've been great work. Great in-ring wrestling. I thought it was absolutely phenomenal. So the in-ring is getting better. Now, if I were AEW, I'd be fucking worried that they keep on putting on this streak of really good in-ring matches, and not just good, like, storytelling in-ring, but good, like, technical wrestling in-ring. That DIY Street Profits match was one of the best tag team matches I've seen on TV since FTR and Bullet Club Gold. 100%. That match was fantastic. That really was. And it had no build. I think it was just like a number 1 contenders match, right? But phenomenal. It's possible to do matches with no build if they're 2 teams that have a history of being awesome, and you're just kind of sitting there like, when are these 2 guys going to fight? You know, at that point, that to me is enough of a build, because there's this natural anticipation that's growing between the fan base. That's why dream matches tend to work, because they're dream matches because everyone's done the build in their head already. I mean, sure, you got to put in a little bit of build, a little bit of spice to kind of make sense as to why these 2 teams or why these 2 individuals are going at each other. But dream matches, they could be built differently than any other match. You know what I mean? But I think that the in-ring work on SmackDown and on Raw has increased dramatically. And I think that the storytelling is also getting better, with Triple H at the helm, and it's getting better over time. So I'm really, really liking WWE right now. I haven't watched 4 or 5 nights of wrestling ever, because I wasn't that much into the main roster while I was watching NXT. And the only other brands I was watching outside of NXT during that time was Ring of Honor and New Japan. And then AEW came out, and it was just AEW and New Japan because Ring of Honor was gone, and New Japan was kind of like, Ring of Honor was gone, NXT was pretty much dead, and New Japan had all their talent pretty much siphoned off from AEW. Now, Mondays are great. I really got to get into Tuesdays more, honestly, because I feel like, I don't know what Shawn Michaels is doing down there, but like I feel like it's starting to pick up steam, and I feel like a lot more people are talking about what's going on in NXT. To be quite honest, I'm probably going to wait, and I know this might sound ridiculous and petty, but I'm probably going to wait until NXT starts touring on the road, which I believe it's confirmed that they're going to be doing, because that Full Sail crowd, I can't stand them. I think that they drag down every single fucking show. They're all a bunch of plant marks that probably just watch NXT and nothing else. And I don't gauge their crowd reactions as any sort of, hey Jordan, thanks for tuning in. Appreciate it, bud. I think that like that crowd just brings down everything. Like it just makes everything unbelievable. I want to see a actual crowd in actual stadiums or actual arenas. I think that would be great. But I honestly think that like now, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, Monday, Tuesday, 5 days a week of wrestling. We're eating good, people. We're eating good. Oh, listen, guys. I know that I'm on YouTube and I'm on Twitter and stuff like that, and I'm on the internet, but I could give a popcorn fart about what the internet thinks about anything. Period. I don't give a shit about anyone's tweets. I don't give a shit about any fan's opinion on the internet. The only fans that I give a shit about are the ones that I talk to in person or the ones that are in this fucking chat right now. That's it. If we are able to have a line of dialogue and talk to one another without typing on 140 characters or less, then I care about what you have to say. Otherwise, I don't give a shit. And honestly, the rest of the of pro wrestling needs to stop giving a shit also. Seriously. They need to stop giving a shit about what people say on the internet. They need to stop giving a shit about what I say. They should not be watching my show. They should be focusing on their career. No wrestler should be watching my show. No wrestler should be watching any YouTuber show, any podcaster show, because eventually what happens with all reviewers is that they lose perspective, honestly. A lot of these, like, you want to know why I don't engagement farm? You want to know why I don't tweet incessantly hot takes on Twitter? You want to know why I don't do that? Because I don't want to. Because I'm not out to engagement farm. I'm not out to use the algorithm. I'm not out to say things that are mega controversial so I could get some more views or anything. I don't care. I'm here to talk about wrestling because I love it. My opinions are my own. I make up my own goddamn opinions. I don't watch a show and just like scroll through Twitter and see whether or not other people agreed with what I like. I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck. I like what I like. You could like what you like. That's it. There's nothing wrong with just liking WWE and not watching AEW. AEW is an acquired taste. You know? If you're like, honestly, it really is for like the sickos. It really is for like the hardcore fans. Like, your average WWE fan was not watching Ring of Honor. They were not watching New Japan. And some of them weren't even fucking watching NXT, man. They were not. So it's like, it's unfair of me to expect them to like those kind of matches because they weren't watching them to begin with. You know what I mean? So it's like, why? Why would I bother? And then also for AEW fans, why are you looking for things, like in WWE that they're not going to give you? It's not their business model. It's not how they present their product. There are some things that AEW is going to do, and you're only going to find it in AEW. You are not going to see broken glass, thumbtacks, Texas death matches, barbed wire. You're not going to see any of that in the WWE. You're not going to see that. Now, there are things that AEW could do better, like their production, the booking also. Now, that's another thing I had to talk about. Tony Khan at the presser yesterday said that he's got about 27, 28 people working on creative in AEW. I would like some clarification on that. I would like to know, he's like, they're part of the process. Okay. So is it you're in a room and these are the 27, 28 people sitting around this big ass conference table, figuring out storylines? I don't think so. I think that there are 27 people that have input. There are 27 people he might consult on certain things. But at the end of the day, Tony's writing the show. That's what I think. The reason why I say that is because if you look at Dynamite, Rampage, and Collision, it looks like Tony is writing and booking for one show. That's Dynamite. Rampage was an hour variety show every Friday night at 10. Nothing storyline related was going on. Not even any real big name guys. Like, remember when we were getting like Danielson on Rampage, Punk on Rampage, Kenny Omega on Rampage? They don't do that anymore. You want to tell me that a show doesn't matter? You put the people that don't matter on that show, and you put the people that do matter on another show. I'm just following your lead, Tony. You book Rampage like I shouldn't care. Now, Collision is also being booked in the same way. It's a lot of their newer guys. It's a lot of like talent that's like variety talent, like a lot of lucha, a lot of Joshi, a lot of Japanese wrestling and British wrestling. Nothing mainstream is going on Rampage or Collision. I don't know what happened, but Collision was a way different show when it first started. Some people will say, oh, it was because of Punk's influence and his booking and stuff like that. But to be quite honest, yeah, it was a better show. But you can't run a company the way that it was being run. You can't have one of your stars just run roughshod on the show, put all of his friends on there, and that's pretty much it. You can't do it. You can't fucking do it. It doesn't have good longevity. It really doesn't. So what you're going to have to, Rampage, Collision, Dynamite, they all need to be booked in a way that I want to watch them. All right? How you do that is, number one, at the end of Rampage on Wednesday, and I might actually do a show later tonight on what happened on Raw, because I have a lot of time on my hands currently, so I'm reinvesting into this podcast. But the last several months in terms of my real life job, that needed more focus and time and attention, unfortunately, than this. So I do apologize for like getting up to 92 episodes and just fucking dipping without anything. So I do apologize. But at the end of Dynamite this Wednesday, I should know what the card is for next Dynamite. I should know what the potential card is for Collision and for Rampage. There is no reason why where everyone's talking about ratings and demos and all this fucking bullshit. I don't give a shit. I'm just saying that I like to know what's going to happen next week. You want to know why? Because I'm like that for every show that I fucking watch. If I was watching Game of Thrones, you better bet that I'm staying at the end of the credits to see what could happen next week. I do that with every show. Did it with Breaking Bad, did it with Game of Thrones, did it with every show. Always want to know what's going to happen next week. What's going to happen next week? Why? Because it builds the anticipation and it gets you thinking about it, and then you show up and you watch the next week because you're like, oh boy, I want to know what's going on. They don't do that enough in AEW. They don't do that enough. They need to start, and that's what makes me think that they're booking week to week. I think maybe there are 1 to 2 storylines that have a full arc. I also think that there are some storylines that they just have a skeleton of an arc. They have a concept of the beginning, a concept of the middle, and a concept of the end, and that's it. There needs to be, this has always been my opinion. You got, let's count them in AEW. You have your, I mean, with the shit ton of belts, it's fucking ridiculous. So let's try and break it down a little bit easier. You have your singles division, men's singles division, women's singles division, men's tag, men's trio. That's 4. You should have a writer that's in control of the singles division and their overall like trajectory. A writer for the women, a writer for the tag, a writer for the trios. Now within the singles for the men, you have like you have the world title, the continental title, and the international title. With the women, you have the women's belt and the TBS belt. So that's 3 belts for the men, 2 belts for the women. You have 2 trios belts. So let's say for example, we're just talking about AEW. You have 1 trios belt. And then you're just talking about AEW, you have 1 tag belt. The fact that the Young Bucks started this company saying that this tag team division was going to be the best in the world, and then you look at the tag teams that have held the belt, and they're all 2 singles guys that they put together to further their own singles lines. Let's go, for example. First title winners were SoCal Uncensored, tag team. Second title winners were Kenny Omega and Hangman Adam Page, not a tag team. Who did they end up losing? Who did they end up losing the belts to eventually? I can't remember. You had Luchasaurus and Jungle Boy. I guess you could consider them a tag team, even though they were with Marco's stunt. You had the Guns, actual tag team. Swerve and Keith Lee, not an actual tag team. FTR. You had Big Bill and Ricky Starks, not an actual tag team. And that's it. And then otherwise, it's just been hopping around between FTR and the Young Bucks. Now, I just feel like you need, like, when was the last time there was a tag match that had the anticipation of, like, Ospreay versus Omega, Danielson versus Swerve, Eddie Kingston versus CM Punk, MJF versus anybody, you know? There haven't been, maybe, I would say, FTR and the Bucks was probably the most anticipated tag match that they've had. And even still, in my opinion, I thought all of the Young Bucks FTR matches were mid. I did not think that they were the greatest in the world. But, like, there's no, like, build up your tag teams. Build up actual tag teams. The Grizzled Young Veterans showed up at the end of All In, which is great. I think they're going to feud with FTR, which would be phenomenal. There's a match with 2 tag teams, 2 actual tag teams that I'm excited for. They need to build up Top Flight. They need to build up the Guns again. They need to 2.0. What the fuck, man? 2.0 had a tremendous upside, and they did nothing with them. They should get Silver and Reynolds back together and make them a tag team. Like, they need actual tag teams. They need actual tag team feuds. They don't do any of that. Any of that. There is literally almost no tag team division. The tag team division is a crutch to get singles guys over. And that's it. They're not getting any tag teams over. It's the same fucking thing with the trios belts. You have all these factions. None of them are building trios. None of them have worthwhile fights. And who won the trios belts yesterday? 3 individual guys. Pac, Wheeler Yuta, Claudio. At Death Triangle was supposed to win. I don't know what's going on with Rey Fenix and Pentagon. I mean, it was a big enough show. I don't see why they wouldn't have wanted to be on it. So I don't know. I'm not sure why they're on it or not. But the fact that they couldn't get another trio because they haven't built any trio, so they had to take 3 guys, put them in the match, and then give them the belts. And you had House of Black in there? Come on, man. Come on. It's lazy. It's fucking lazy. It's lazy, and it shows that someone can't spin all the plates at once, and that someone's Tony Khan. I'm sorry, brother, but I got to call it like I see it, all right? I'm the customer, all right? And when I say that this burger was made cheap, I'm going to tell you this burger was made cheap. Sorry. I'm going to tell you the burger was made cheap. And that's what happened. The burgers are cheap. Your double patty burgers are cheap, and your triple stack burgers are cheap. And even for the most part, like Okada's had that Continental title. He's defended it once against Cesaro. The international title's been getting so much pull because they just made it a prop for MJF and Will Ospreay to fight over, to be honest. You know, they wanted to do MJF versus Will Ospreay on TV, which, to be quite honest, like, you got to put big matches on television. You got to. You have to. You have to. You can't save every big match for the pay-per-view. But to be honest, and I know a lot of people just be like, oh, you know, you got to save the big matches for the pay-per-view. With the roster that Tony has, he should be able to make big matches every week. Every week. Every week and every pay-per-view. But he doesn't do it. He doesn't do it. I don't know why. Or you know what? He does do it, but it doesn't happen enough. Or he does do it, and then he's sitting there on podcast trying to convince me as to why it is a big deal. I'm sorry, dude, but if you have to go on a podcast and try and convince me it's a good deal, you haven't done your job. Because the convincing happens on Wednesday nights between 8 and 10. Friday nights between 10 and 11. And Saturday nights between 8 and 10. Period. And yes, it is confirmed Psycho Sid passed away. Which is unfortunate because I was looking up some of his matches recently because I was just feeling in a nostalgia mood. What a shame. So R.I.P. Psycho Sid. Danielson staved off retirement and is the new AEW World Champion. The Young Bucks retain. They're still the tag team champions. Pac and Wheeler and Claudio are the trios champs. Mariah May beats Toni Storm to become the women's champ. Mercedes Moné are retained against Britt Baker in what I would consider was a dog shit match. That match and Hook and Jericho, they could have got rid of any of those matches, and maybe we could have got a longer coffin match between Darby and Jack Perry. Because that coffin match between the two of them, that was like 15 minutes. And that was it. Just 15 minutes. I don't get it. That match could have been awesome. It could have been more awesome if they were able to have time to work. So I don't know what happened there. Jamie Hayter came back, which I can't wait. I'm so happy for that because this women's division in the last couple of years has sucked mightily. The only big thing that has come out of that division was Timeless Toni Storm. That gimmick is over as fuck. Toni Storm, awesome. Mariah May, awesome. Chris Statlander, awesome. Hikaru Shida, awesome. I don't know what's been going on with Thunder Rosa. I don't know what the deal is, why she's just languishing on Collision in stupid feuds with fucking, what's her name, Deonna Purrazzo, which I feel like Deonna Purrazzo came and now she's gone. Like, she's still in the company and she's still wrestling, but, like, her character is giving me nothing. Nothing. No worthwhile. Like you're gonna sign someone like Deonna Purrazzo. I expect her to be going out there and working and being memorable and having noticeable matches. Serena Deeb, same thing. Like, you do have women who can wrestle. Why am I seeing like just dog shit all the time? You know what I mean? The rest of the women there, get rid of them. Like, if you can't wrestle on TV, then what the fuck are you doing there? Send them to Ring of Honor. Have them fight over the women's title there. Like, why Athena is the women's champion in Ring of Honor and not wrestling banger matches in AEW, I have no idea. They should be sending, like, Red Velvet there. They should be sending Kiera Hogan there. They should be sending, and I know people aren't going to agree with this, but I'll say it anyways, they should be sending Julia Hart and Sky Blue there. Sky Blue has no character. Sky Blue isn't a name. Sorry. So you're Sky Blue, okay, but now you're coming out in black, and I just don't get it. Get rid of her name, change her gimmick, get her to Ring of Honor. Julia Hart. I honestly think that Julia Hart's entrance and gimmick were more over than what she was in the ring. Get her out of there. Send it to Ring of Honor, where she's not going to be on television, and have her wrestle where if she fucks up, it's not going to ruin your television. I just think that your television time should be spent on people who could actually utilize it well. And now that you have Ring of Honor, which is just online, and Rampage, which is pre-taped and on a Friday night on at 10 o'clock, those are ones where I don't expect a big rating at all on either of those shows. So put anybody you want on there. Honestly, put anybody you want on there and have them work and work and work and work and work until something hits, until something gets over, until someone's like, yo, I haven't watched Rampage, but I heard so on and so forth, had this great match. We should check it out. And then it goes viral, and then people want them on the main roster, and then there you go. But otherwise, if you're a woman on that roster and your name isn't one of the people that I had listed, I don't want you on television. I don't want to see you. Honestly, I don't want to see you. Britt Baker, I don't know what the fuck has been going on with her, but ever since she came back, she's dog shit. Mercedes Moné, what the fuck? Wasn't she supposed to be one of the best women's wrestlers in the world? I've yet to see her put on a good match. What the fuck? They had her fight against Willow, which was a total mismatch because Willow's is too heavy for Mercedes. Mercedes can't work with against Biggs. Oh, also Camille is also in AEW. When am I going to see her wrestle an actual match? You know what I mean? But then again, she doesn't have Camille should be wrestling Chris Statlander. Camille should be wrestling Willow Nightingale. Camille should be wrestling like big, strong women. Camille should be wrestling like Nyla Rose. You know what I mean? Like, there's no reason for like Camille to be like, or at the, you know, like do something with her, please. Do something with her. But the majority of Thunder Rosa, I need to see more from her. That's like honorable mention from the list that I have. Deonna Purrazzo, Serena Deeb, all honorable mention. Do something. You know what I mean? But the matches that Toni Storm and Mariah May and Jamie Hayter and Hikaru Shida and Chris Statlander, the matches that those women could have would all be heaters. The problem is that's what? How many women? How many women did I say? Chris Statlander, that's one. Mariah May, Toni Storm, Jamie Hayter, five. So that's one more than the 4 horsewomen. You do that, and they're just going to be playing hot potato with the belts all the time. And no one's going to like them. You got to get some better women, female wrestlers in there. I don't know who's out there. If you could find any Joshis that could speak English, go for it. Riho, I'm not even putting on that list. She's never cut a promo in her entire time in AEW. She's 3 feet tall. She looks like a child. Any match that she has is not believable in my eyes. I'm sorry. But New Japan, and if you're not on national television, I think you could get away with just doing that kind of shit. But I'm sorry. But you're going to be on TBS from 8 to 10, and I'm going to take time out of my schedule to sit down and watch and put my phone down and not watch anything and pay attention. Got to give me more than fucking Riho, man. Got to give me more than fucking Riho. But definitely, like, that women's division needs to be amped up because it ain't. It ain't right now. They have the talent. They don't use them. They have a whole bunch of useless talent that they use. Saraya, get her the fuck out. Saraya is dreadful. She's wrestled maybe 2-3 matches, and she's never on TV. Get her out. Get her out. Release her from her contract. I don't want her brother there. They're like, oh, I want to get Zack Knight. I'm tired of her and her whole fucking family. She showed up with her whole family the last time she came out at All In. She showed up this time with her whole family. I'm sick of them, man. Stop it. Stop it. I know that they're all broke and you're the only person bringing in serious money, but I don't need to see the gravy train. I honestly don't. Get them the fuck out of there. Get Saraya out. Get her family out. I'm done. Harley Cameron, get her out. Get her out. Or make her a backstage interview girl, but otherwise get her out. Get her out. It's just not worth the time. Not worth the time. Ricochet signed with AEW. He made his debut yesterday. He's going to be fighting Cal Fletcher this week on Dynamite. Some people were saying, like, oh, why didn't you have him win the match? He's not going to, it could have been a big moment. Did you not see the reaction he had when he came out? He had a huge moment. Everybody knows Ricochet. He's going to get his time. You just got to wait. Ricky Starks, haven't seen hide or hair of him. I don't know why a guy like Ricky Starks doesn't have television time. I'm sorry. He's solid in the ring and he's great on the mic. I can't think of any blowaway matches that Ricky Starks has had outside of the Let's see. I think he had a good match with MJF. He had a good match with Danielson. But can he bring others to a good match? Can he have someone who is not at the level of a Danielson and be in the ring with them and wrestle and have a great match? I think that Ricky Starks is great on the mic. I think that like he should like have like feuds with guys who are great talkers and great wrestlers, like an Eddie Kingston. I don't know why that never happened. But instead they saddle him up with Big Bill. Like, what the fuck? Oh shit, I completely forgot. Freaking in terms of tag teams, United Empire hasn't been a tag team in forever since the big guy got injured and broke his hand. I don't know what his return table is like. Adam Cole, still haven't seen him in a while. Kenny Omega, still haven't seen him in a while. You know, like those are guys that if they were healthy, I think it would give a lot more toys for TK to play with, that he's not using these like mid-card, undercard guys on a fucking Wednesday night. And it's killing me. Hook, sorry, man, put him in Ring of Honor. Put him in Ring of Honor. He's just like, there's a problem with guys who you make undefeated 1 and then you don't have them talk. That's 2, because the second they lose and the second they have to talk, it's all up in the air. Put Hook in Ring of Honor. Jericho needs to have a 6 to 12 month hiatus. I'm sorry, but the learning tree gimmick is not over with me. I think he's just staying on TV to spite all the haters. I just don't see an upside in this Jericho gimmick. You know what I mean? He needs to leave. He needs to come back, lose about 20 pounds, and cut his hair short, and fucking let's see a new version of Jericho. Jericho's main strength is he's always been able to reinvent himself, but he's also always known when it was time to like step back and then reinvent. He hasn't done that yet. This is the longest Jericho has been on TV without having to reinvent himself. He had the Jericho Appreciation Society. Like, it all really started going downhill with the Jericho Appreciation Society because there was this back and forth between him and Sammy Guevara and blah, blah, blah. It just wasn't working out. There needed to be, a lot of changes need to be made in AEW, but they're a 5-year-old company. All right. And I don't care what anyone else says. It's good for the wrestling industry for AEW to be around. It's because, to be honest, Hunter taking over WWE was both a blessing and a curse to AEW. It was a curse because you lost that advantage in terms of negotiating power, being like, you know how Vince is like, you know what he's going to do. You don't want to go there. You want to go with us. That's gone. That's gone now. So that was a negative. When Vince left, because you lost that negotiating power, especially because WWE has more money. So the only real reason you could do is like, hey, listen, I'm going to utilize you better. Like, you may not make as much money, but you're going to be on television. You're going to be selling merch. You're going to be doing this. You're going to be doing that. The upside is that this forces AEW to be better. Because it was easy for them to do whatever they wanted because whatever Vince was doing was going to be shit. It's not like that anymore. Triple H is coming out guns blazing. He's coming out. He's putting on great matches. He's showcasing good professional wrestling. He's doing his thing. He's trying to make this NXT Black and Gold 2.0 with all the major stars that were in there, plus all of his crap from NXT. Now, granted, he lost a lot of guys. He lost guys like Adam Cole. He lost guys like Ricochet. He lost guys like Aleister Black. He lost a lot of his toys, but he's got plenty of toys there, man. He's got plenty of toys there. The thing that's going on now with both of these companies, they're both pretty stacked, man. Not one company, both companies can be successful with the rosters they already have. They do not need any more people than what they already have, honestly. I mean, the WWE grabbed Julia, so that was a female talent that was sought after. I think Megan Bayne is still out there, but then I also heard that she's been signed under contract with AEW. They just haven't used her, so, like, I don't know what's going on. But, like, they just need to do more with what they have. Both companies. If they want to succeed, they need to do more of what they have. They need to, I mean, with WWE, and say what you will, WWE saw Stephanie Valkyrie in AEW, and they were like, we got to scoop this bitch up quick. You know? So when AEW says it's where the best wrestle, they're not wrong, man. I mean, even WWE is watching them and seeing guys there. And to be quite honest, a lot of the guys that are in AEW were in WWE. So what are you saying? WWE had shit talent? Like now what? Now they go over to AEW and they're not the best wrestlers anymore? Come on. Come on. Get over it. Get the fuck over it. But I'm telling you, man, it's a great time to be a wrestling fan, honestly. If you're not a tribalistic douchebag and you really open up your mind and you watch both shows and you go in there knowing what you're going to get, knowing that you're going to get great bell-to-bell in-ring action with AEW when it counts, and you're going to get great storytelling and production with WWE, you got everything. If both companies can do both very well, the sky's the limit. And to be honest, it's not like they're poaching from each other's fan bases at this point. I feel like the battle lines are drawn. I think at this point, everyone's just trying to get new viewers in and their old fan bases back. Because let's be real, people, WWE lost over 50% of their fan base in the last 15 years. Luckily enough, they had such a big fan. Luckily for WWE, they're too big to fail, honestly. I mean, I thought that company wasn't going to last, the PR nightmare that was Vince McMahon, but they got rid of him. They put in Triple H, and that was the way to go. But I'm telling you, man, we're eating good as wrestling fans. It's going to be a great week of wrestling. We have the the Intercontinental Championship Tournament going on tonight. Winner faces Braun Breaker, who's the current Intercontinental Champion. We got Kyle Fletcher versus Ricochet on Dynamite this week. So it's going to be great stuff. It's stuff worth watching on both shows. What I'm going to try and do, guys, being that there's honestly really no excuse for me not to, I'm going to try and be on Monday nights, on Tuesday nights, on Wednesday nights, and on Saturday nights to give you guys a skinny of all the, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday. And we'll see how that goes. It's a lot of time to commit, but I got plenty of time on my hands currently, so gonna reinvest time into here. But it was good hearing from you, Jordan, on the chat. The rest of you guys, if you guys watch it later, you should be seeing me posting links on all of the chats that we're on to promote the show. If anyone listening knows any friends who's interested in pro wrestling, have them tune in. And that's it, guys. I got nothing else. My throat is sore. That's pretty much it. So I might be back on later tonight to talk about 3 hours of Raw. I think I might. That might be actually kind of fun. Or I might be playing Warzone. I don't know. That was another thing. I got back into Warzone. That's been taking over my nights a lot. So we'll see. But appreciate you guys tuning in. I'm back. The King has returned. We're going to take over the wrestling podcasting landscape one episode at a time. Thank you for tuning in to episode 92, 93, possibly tonight or tomorrow or Wednesday, but probably tonight. Take care, guys.